There's a lot to talk about Cannes. Well, anyway, I went to my first Cannes festival in the 70s. I went to my last Cannes festival in the 90s, about 10 years ago, swearing that I will never return. Not because the films are bad, but because a lack of respect for the filmmakers, the absolute dictatorship of the market, and above all, the distance between the spectator and the film itself. So there are good festivals and there are bad festivals. The good festivals are those that put the least barrier between any spectator, be he a critic or a film journalist or a ticket buyer, and the film itself. So I made up my mind that I can't stand Cannes anymore. And the thing that can make criticism survive, which I think is very important, and not having the same interview questions being answered in the same way, you know, the kind of Google journalism that is going around these days, is that you continue. I mean, people know who you are, and if you continue and don't give it up, they use you as a reference point. The readers we still have, actually. We have some readers. So they know that, well, if that critic thinks this film is good, I go and see it. I can trust it. On the contrary, if this critic says it's a bad film, I can trust it and go and see it anyway. Just because of that. I mean, developing a personal relationship to whoever is delivering the criticism is very important. And the difficulty today is that there is a lot of web criticism which don't have that kind of readership which the printed press, the dailies, still have, and is overestimated by a lot of people. You know, blogging and writing on the web is thought to be a shortcut to new readers, and I would say that it's overestimated.
Beh, c'è senz'altro molto da dire su Cannes. Io sono stata per la prima volta a Cannes negli anni 70 e poi per l'ultima volta negli anni 90, dove ho detto che non ci sarei mai più tornata. Questo non perché i film che sono presentati a Cannes siano di una qualità inferiore, ma proprio perché c'è poco rispetto per chi quei film li fa e c'è troppa distanza fra il film e lo spettatore. I migliori festival, a mio avviso, sono quelli che mettono le minori barriere fra film e spettatore. E per questo che ho deciso che non sopporto più Cannes, perché tratta tutti, giornalisti, registi e film, come della merce, come merce di scambio. I festival migliori sono quelli che dipendono dai buoni film, dai film di buona qualità e creano la minor distanza tra spettatore e film, tra spettatore e tutti coloro che sono dietro la cinepresa. Volevo inoltre fare una domanda. La cosa che potrebbe salvare la critica, a mio avviso, perché il critico rimane sempre un punto di riferimento per i lettori. Essi si fidano del suo giudizio e sviluppare una relazione personale con il critico è molto importante. Troppa critica sul web che non ha lo stesso tipo di lettori è sopravvalutata da molti che vedono nei blog una scorciatoia per arrivare ai lettori.
Ci sono domande o se qualcuno dei nostri ospiti vuole aggiungere qualcosa? Non so, per esempio, prima eravamo a pranzo con i nostri ospiti e è uscito una questione che effettivamente a me sembra interessante, cioè Bruno, che adesso ci ha lasciato un attimo, chiedeva per esempio agli altri quante volte vedono un film prima di... Ah, eri tu, scusami, Bruno ha risposto. Allora, sì, quante volte vedere un film prima di scrivere la critica, che per esempio potrebbe essere interessante per chi cerca di iniziare questo mestiere. Okay, I would like to maybe switch to some really detailed issue in film criticism and how to write reviews and cinema-related articles, because a few hours ago when we were having lunch, Giorgio was asking the other critics, how many times do you watch a film before writing it? And Bruno, for example, Bruno was given some funny instances because he was remembering one time he had to write about the Thin Red Line, and he said that he watched the film once, then he didn't remember exactly one scene he wanted to write about, and from a small village 60 kilometers far from Milan, he came back to the cinema theater just to watch again that special scene. So I think the question is quite open. How many times do you watch films before writing it?
It depends on, of course it depends on the film. A film that I needed to see more than once, Eyes Wide Shut, I saw twice, or maybe even 3 times.
Looking each time for something else, or?
No, checking if my first impressions were right and if I really could track down certain traits of Kubrick that I have noticed from his early films.
And one you didn't need to watch twice, but you could write about it?
Saving Private Ryan.
Beh, certo dipende dal film. Un film che ho dovuto vedere più di una volta, l'ho visto 2, forse 3 volte, è stato Eyes Wide Shut. E Sebastiano ha chiesto, ma cercando sempre cose nuove? Beh no, cercando di assicurarmi che le mie prime impressioni del film fossero in effetti corrette e cercando di vedere se alcune delle riflessioni che avevo fatto riguardo al lavoro precedente di Kubrick potessero essere portate avanti in questo film. E l'altra domanda era, è un film che ha visto solo una volta? Questo è Salvato il soldato Ryan.
I mean, the most difficulty of being a film critic and watching the films is to integrate yourself two people inside of you and to watch the film with 2 levels of viewing. One as a critic and one as a normal spectator. Because one side of me has to keep to be overwhelmed by the film, and one is really looking to the structure, to being called to analyze. Because this part will be very helpful when writing the review. So sometimes I try to forget and not to forget at the same time. To be in, it's a very difficult position. So when it comes to write long reviews, like 2-page reviews, if it's possible, I mean, most of the time I watch the film twice, once as a spectator, and the other time I come back and I write like 10 pages of notes. But this is not possible always. It's not really to remember doing a thriller or something like the small details, but to have this, to view it with 4 eyes.